we are crossing from the core Java, all that stuff to the next round of interviews. So you'll have multiple rounds. The first round will be like data structure, algorithm, and language features. If you are more than 5 or 6 years of experience, then your next round most probably will be about frameworks, choice of tools, architectural patterns, all that. With today, we are getting into that topics also slowly. The reason that we started with Java is something that we discussed now or earlier. We will have a strong connect when we go to frameworks. So if you guys have missed any of the videos previously, Feroz video, Vaibhav's video, or my videos, please go ahead and then check that. But from today, we are going with an interesting topics because all the core Java related things sometimes might be boring, but now we'll get to some interesting topics. And in this journey, I am going to give you certain buzzwords in the market where you can find more opportunities either today or in upcoming days. So that is the idea. Bare minimum, if I can't share my knowledge in that, I can tell you that the buzzwords that I share will be of good use. That's the idea. One of the buzzword that as I speak, please go ahead and put all the buzzwords that you think are very attractive for job seekers. Please go ahead, put it in the chat. I will read it out and we will choose the person who puts best buzzword also. So one of the buzzword is about Jamstack. I want 2 answers. One is, please go ahead, put the buzzwords that you think very attractive today, whether it is microservice or whatever it is. And then 2, scalability. Okay, scalability is not a buzzword. It is supposed to be there. But I'll tell you the buzzword terminology of scalability also. DevOps, microservices. Okay. And also, please put any of the stack that you guys know already. Oh, okay, good. Raja already mentioned mean stack. Any of the other stacks that you know. Stream processing, reactive, LAMP, full stack. Full stack, someone put caps because it is very important. That's okay. LAMP, WAMP, ELK. There are a lot of stacks that you see.
Okay. Somebody also put MERN also, MERN.
MERN, yeah. It's not MERN, right? It is MEAN.
No, both exist. Both exist. Just change Angular with React. That's it.
Oh my God. See, okay. So here is the classic case. So the terminologies confuse you.
Yes, absolutely.
Terminology confuse you. Okay. So the stacks are nothing. Okay. Now let us Kubernetes, RPA. I'm really, really happy that someone mentioned RPA. Who mentioned this RPA?
Siddharth, I think.
Siddharth, excellent. Provided we are in a competition, I would have given you first prize. So can anyone tell me what is RPA? Because I got a call when we placed students, someone told me, if you have any RPA person, let me know. I will give him so much of salary. Robotic process automation. Okay. And later I will explain you what is robotic automation. Then you might laugh very well because that is something that you are doing for long time. And then we just have a new name to it. Okay, good. So there are a lot of buzzwords. Thanks a lot. Please, audience, if you did not mention it, or even if you mentioned it, take a note of whatever is there in the chat messages. It is going to be very, very useful. UiPath, automation everywhere, 2 famous technologies companies that are in domain. Yes, UiPath and automation anywhere has a lot of job openings actually, and companies need some badly. That is why we have a lot of openings. We'll see that in upcoming session if you guys want. Now let us get into this Jamstack. I'll share my screen. But before that, how many of you are React developers here and Angular developers? I'm going little slow, so let us wait. React. Arun Kumar is already a React developer. Gagan is an Angular developer. Okay, you can go ahead and then put your items there. But let us start with the session today. So just remember this question. I asked about the stacks. Then I asked about React programmer and Angular programmer. The recent buzzwords that I know is this design system, microservices, DevOps, DevSecOps, UX, DevUX, microservices, Strangler patterns, all this AI, ML, all this, right? It's very, very hard to explain it to people. In fact, it is That is the whole purpose of it. People should not understand it. That is why we explain like that. But now in that there are certain things which are sometimes confusing, hard to explain, particularly design system in that case. And there are certain things which people immediately relate even if they don't understand. AI, ML and all those stuff, people will fall for that word. But Jamstack is little strange. Now I am going to show you a Jamstack application now. Let me know if any of you have any doubts. Let us see. This is a Spring Boot app. It's not microservice. It's just a normal app. This is app, and I am starting a React application here. React application is somewhere.
It's still on the Java thing.
Yes, yeah. Okay. So it's still, Jamstack is still there. Okay. What is difference with Jamstack? Let me first open the site, Jamstack, official site of Jamstack. This is official site. Official site comes at the third position. Training sites. If you look at training sites comes before that. Then you can understand what a kind of build up that we have on that. Okay.
Yeah, and actually, it's just to add something interesting. When you mentioned Jamstack yesterday, I was like, okay, what's Jamstack? Even I got curious, and as you were googling, and I stumbled upon this. I actually stumbled on something very else also. There's something called as follows for the interesting choice of domain, but it's called as Jamstack.wtf, which I'm sure a lot of people can guess the acronym.
I mean, the thing is, that's what I told you. This kind of new things, right? Design system, microservices, all these buzzwords. Compared to that buzzword, Jamstack has a unique characteristics. That is why I'm very interested in Jamstack actually. That is the very reason that I took Jamstack. So now at the end of this session, what we will do is we will make some 4-5 of our teammates into Jamstack developers at the end of the session. If you listen to the session, you are at the end of it, you are going to become a Jamstack developer. Let us see what it is. So what is Jamstack? So fast and secure apps powered by CDN, all that stuff, so that you don't understand anything, but it's going to be very, very simple. Now let us look at the practical implementation of Jamstack. This is Spring Boot backend. I have a React application, and here you have that I connect to that Spring Boot application, and then I enter the data. Now I will tell you the difference. If you combine this React application inside your Spring Boot, put it in a static directory, run it in your server, then it is React.js, AngularJS developer. If you put this React app in another location and your Spring Boot app in another location, then you become Jamstack developer. Now tell me what do you understand from the Jamstack compared to all other stacks? Okay, let us get into that quickly. WAMP stack, LAMP stack, mean stack, and all those stuff. They have a clear-cut definitions. Let us look at the other terminologies that we just used. So we talked about mean stack. The most popular one that you see today is LAMP. LAMP is nothing but Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP. So what is first of all stack? Stack is usually in technological world, in data structure stack has a separate meaning, but in technical world, technology world, stack means independent tools. For example, Linux has its own purpose. Apache has its own purpose. They can operate independently. MySQL has its own purpose. PHP has its own purpose. But combined together, they can solve one specific area better. For example, LAMP is a preferred choice for web apps, and LAMP is nothing but combination of 4 different tech stacks. That is why these tech stacks are coming into picture. LAMP, WAMP, mean, MEER, ELK. ELK means ELK is something that is used for your app monitoring. But ELK is not one thing. ELK is combination of Elastic, Logstash, Kibana. So combination of this makes ELK. Now coming to this Jamstack, what is the Jamstack says? Jamstack is more about a way of doing things. What Jamstack says is, in Jamstack, these 3 words, JAM stands for, J means JavaScript, A means API, M means markup. So markup is keep your UI always in HTML. All your business methods are going to be only in your API specific server. All your UI and interactions are going to be in JavaScript. That is the idea, which means at the end of the day, from your deployment standpoint, why do we segregate this? I just mentioned this. If you have Spring Boot backend as a separate item and you have your front end just as static assets. Static assets in the sense, no PHP, no JSPs, no FreeMarker. It's all going to be Spring. So it has to React front end, Spring Boot backend, two applications. Now this is front end. You can deploy this React front end in a separate server. Okay. For example, if you have an UI JSP application, you need a servlet container, Tomcat and all those stuff. If you keep it as a static, what is the main advantage? By keeping it static, you don't need the server anymore. You can just keep it to any CDNs, which are very, very cheap. You can keep it in Nginx, you can keep it in Apache. You can keep it at the very bare minimum server because it's all going to be static. And you always keep your static items at the separate place. It comes with different advantages that we will go through that later. But first advantage that when we say keep your static items separately, can any one of the audience tell me what is the main advantage that you see by keeping all your UI as static assets, mere static assets? When I say static assets, the CSS, JS, and your HTMLs.
Initial loading becomes faster, I guess.
Okay, good, fair point. Who is this?
This is Farid.
Farid, good answer. Yes. Initial loading time is faster.
Loose coupling.
Loose coupling. Okay, you are separating business logic from the app. Okay, that's also good. Yes, that's an advantage. Is there anything that you see related to security here? For security, it has better advantage. We can reduce the load from the app servers. Okay, fine. Okay, let us see the advantages one by one. But primary advantage, 2-level security. Excellent. Jagadish, I think. Good, Jagadish. Okay. So let us look at the advantage. First and foremost advantage, because we all are looking for interviews. Okay. Provided I would have called you that I'm going to talk about Spring Boot React app, how many of you would have been interested? But if I say I'm going to talk about Jamstack, so Jamstack has a name value. That is the advantage. Let us accept it. Okay. That is the reason that we use Jamstack. If you are an Angular developer, whoever mentioned that Angular developer, in fact, in our group, we had 2 Jamstack developer already. Only thing is that they don't know that they are using Jamstack. Gagan and Arun Kumar, actually they are already a Jamstack developer. So that is the terminology advantage. Now let us get into the practical advantages. The practical advantages, by keeping static assets, point number 1, your performance is going to be better. The reason being, because it is static assets, you can cache completely. So if you are keeping it in Nginx, you can cache it. You can keep the cache in browser also. That's the first and foremost advantage. Second, it is going to make your deployment much simpler because it's just a copy paste. There is nothing like build, blue-green deployment. All the complexity is not going to be there. It is just a plain deployment. So first thing that I told, it is going to be the ability to cache. That is intent performance, ability to cache both at server and client. That's a major advantage. Then deployment, you can use even CDN. You don't need to deploy it in Azure virtual machine or something like that. You can put it in a CDN. There are some specific solutions to that I will come later. There is an advantage. There is another buzzword that is an interesting area that you can find a lot of jobs, that is called headless CMS. Jamstack is very much related to that. In fact, the person who introduced this terminology Jamstack is a founder of headless CMS, I think so. I'll confirm that. So that is the second advantage. The third advantage, security. it is going to be static asset. Even if the hacker comes into it, if it comes to your Nginx or whatever it is going to be only static. So he cannot introduce, he cannot code inject. If this particular statement is not clear to anybody, please let me know, because I know some of the people may not be familiar with this. Let me know. Please stop and then ask questions, then and don't hesitate. So you cannot do code injects. That is one security. There is another aspect of security also that I will go to it later. Apart from this, one time that people miss out is edge server. I'm not sure whether I'm using the correct terminology. Experts from DevOps can confirm me. You can use edge server. What is edge server? For example, if you are looking at a global brand, if you're looking at ESPN Cricinfo, for example, ESPN Cricinfo is something that you can open it in India, your headlines will be different. If you open it in Singapore, your headline may be different. If you open it in England, your headline may be different. Your content may be different. Can anybody guess why and how? Any answers?
Due to a content delivery network and the localized content being provided from the edge servers.
Perfect. So that is personalization. That's a technical aspect, because if I'm coming from England, probably I'm looking at England-Pakistan test, interested in that. If I'm coming from India, probably I'm interested in IPL. So IPL will come. So that is kind of personalization. That is a different topic. But apart from that, what you need to understand that espncricinfo.com is the URL that you type. But it is not necessary that this ESPN Cricinfo is coming from US server or UK server where it is actually originated from. The reason being, if you are calling from India, probably Mumbai server might be closer to you. If you are calling from UK, probably London server might be closer to you. In cloud, you might have seen when you create a VM, you can create a VM in a specific zone. And there is a purpose to that. There is a meaning to that. The meaning is, if your application is going to be accessed from a specific regions, you can use the server that are physically closer also. So you can have multiple edge servers, even though if it is the same content, you can globally deploy it without any complication. This is one of the huge advantage of using this kind of stack. So that is another
Satish, I think one aspect which we can discuss is probably they need to understand the idea of a content delivery network and why you need a CDN to be able to correlate with the edge server and then the localized content aspect.
Localized content aspect. Okay. Can anyone in the audience tell me what is the use of CDN? Content delivery.
I think Pramod and Jagdish have some interesting ideas. Probably they can share it.
Please go ahead and share. Jagdish and Pramod, welcome.
Predefined methodologies will be in that particular.
I'm sorry, Srinidhi, your voice is too low. If you could be a bit louder.
Predefined methodologies that were present in the CDNs can be used directly without writing the code.
No, the question was, what is a CDN?
So content delivery network.
What is a content delivery network? Yeah, what does it do?
So it's a service that is deployed in the manufacturer side, like Google, that can be used into our coding and makes our code easier.
Okay. So who is this?
Srinath.
Srinath. Okay, Srinath. Yeah. Srinath, yes, good answer. So basically consider content is your video, audio, media files that you see, HTMLs, CSS, JavaScript, images. These are all your content. So when you deliver content, you need to consider a lot of considerations like network, caching, performance, availability, deployments, all this. So basically this content delivery network, you can consider that they kind of helps you to deliver the content so that you can focus on the content. They do everything for you. Like DBMS, you can write your own database also, but then if you are using DBMS, your data is managed by somebody effectively. So if you have a static asset, CDNs are usually really good and they are very cheap.
Yes,
that is what the CDNs will do. And in CDNs, you can always configure like lot of flexible configurations will be there for global deployment. I'm not good in this, but I just know that there are a lot of configurations that you can utilize.
And just to highlight the aspect of network, imagine if I'm trying to access a site from the US, say a video on YouTube. Now, if I have to go all the way to US to start streaming it, I'm going halfway across the world, right? So will it take a longer amount of time to go to US, or will it take a longer amount of time to go from, say, Bangalore to Mumbai? Which would be longer?
So US is
Certainly US would be longer, right?
yes, sir.
So imagine if I had a local copy of the content available in Mumbai. So when, say, I'm trying to stream a cricket match, or say, for example, I'm trying to stream a football match which is happening in UK Premier League, or say the Spanish League. Now, when I'm live streaming that content, if it is available in Mumbai to me, even if I'm live streaming, it will be much easier, isn't it? So that's why a content delivery network becomes easier. So your content is available localized, and an additional advantage of that is, as Satish was mentioning, and you can have focused content specific for each geography. Now that is personalization, which is a good to have, but that is not the primary focus of a content delivery network. As the word says, content delivery network. So you deliver content across the world in the shortest possible amount of time. Somebody, I think, mentioned, I think it was Pramod who mentioned on the chat that, is it like CloudFront? Yes, CloudFront is another content delivery network. I think another person mentioned Akamai. I think it was, I can't remember the name. I'm sorry for that. I believe it is Jagdish. So Akamai is also a very famous content delivery network provider. So these are companies who provide CDN products which you can use to deliver your content across the world.
I use the CDNs for responsive delivery. So I explained it.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, but see, that responsiveness comes from the fact that you are
Yes, sir.
accessing it in the,
Sir,
it's like
from
a
server.
local copy of the actual content.
Yes, sir. That's why I told that point.
Yeah. Okay. So now coming to this one, right? This, if you look at this, I hope everybody is able to see why there is a lot of interest on this. Why specifically we took this specific topic is, in the one of my early sessions we mentioned this. It is not the technology that gets you the money or the job. It's not about you good at something that gets you a job. You good at something that is required by business. That is job, that is salary for you. Okay, and now these technologies, even though we say buzzword, all that, okay, we can make fun of it. But the thing is, the numbers that you see, for example, Netlify is the one who introduced this terminology. If you go to the Jamstack site, at the end you see Netlify community. So Netlify is the person who actually put this name first. Actually, we can just say, okay, this is there for some time and all that stuff. But the thing is, this, if you think that this is way of your development itself, they can save huge money. It's not small numbers that we are talking about. And that's why, as an organization, if you go and tell the organization, this number may be real or not, I don't know, but let us just consider this case. 92% of better performance you can get, and you can monthly save $38K. Won't be that organization will be interested in doing it or taking that experts. And that is the value of this specific area that we are talking about, be it headless CMS or Jamstack. And that is why there are a lot of meetup groups specifically started for Jamstack itself. There's a lot of hype around it. So if you can read about this further, if you have any doubts, do let me know. I can clarify it as much as I know, because I'm also learning this. I made some 2-3 deployments just to get my hands practice with this actually. But this is one area that you can watch out for. This will give you a lot of visibility when you do a job search, or even for your day-to-day work, not just for that job search. If you are a startup company, you have a limited budget, or you are a company who do not want to fire your people, please save your money in these kind of things. So these technologies can save money so that we can actually safeguard the people, because employee is something that once they go, you can't earn them back. But if you optimize this, you can safeguard your company, you can safeguard your employees, and you can safeguard your operational efficiency also. You can improvise it. So this, like this, we will keep talking about other areas in the upcoming weeks, but this is one of the area that we can think about. That's
and
why
I have shared a few websites which people can go through to, as a primer for Jamstack. I obviously jamstack.org, which is the official website, is also shared, and there's another website which I found was very easy to do a initial primer. So I've shared it with everyone else in case for people who are interested in it. Sorry to interrupt you, Satish. Please do continue.
Okay, sure. And I can put some of the names that we did study this about headless CMS and all those stuff for our own projects in our company. But the thing that I realized is this area itself is not matured. There is no clear-cut winner, clear-cut framework that gives you a foolproof way of doing Jamstack or something like that. It's just a collection of technologies. You are free to choose technologies, but it is just a set of rules that you need to follow. That's the whole idea. Further to study some of the names that I can suggest, but I'm not actually giving strong opinion towards it. But when I studied about this area, I took 2 or 3 items that I can study so that I can understand this area better. So 2 guys that I checked this. One is Strapi and another one is Netlify. So these are the things that I think a good starting point to get into this headless CMS and Jamstack part. Netlify. There are a lot of other providers, but the reason that I chose these 2 is, one is Strapi is very simple. It is new to the market, so it's easy to learn, one, and it has very limited set of features and nice solid features. So that's why I took Strapi as my learning mechanism first. Then Netlify relatively takes a slightly different approach, and that is why it is so popular. Recently they reached 1 million developers. So these 2 you can see for your further references. Any doubts?
Satish, would you be kind enough to share the websites? Could you be kind enough to share the websites? Like it will be easier for people to.
Okay, so the 2 names that I just suggested.
Strapi.io and Netlify. Yeah.
Netlify. This Netlify is a professional version. Even though it's a professional version, you can use it. Free tier has a lot of features also. This is actually Netlify CMS.org is the open source version of the same.
Yeah, we have. There was a request to share the website URLs. We've done that in the chat.
Okay, so relatively we are done for the day. Any job announcements, please go ahead and then announce. Any other announcements that audience want to do, please go ahead and announce. Hi Shubhas, you have anything to say? Please unmute yourself. Feel free to share. I have some job opening related items that I will do at the end. Oh, he sent it to Raja. Okay.
Suhas is trying to have a personal discussion with Raja.
Okay. I talked to some companies. I asked them I requested them to conduct mock interviews for us, as that was a request from our audience last week. Probably, if not this week, down the line, next week or something like that, we will invite some people who are from different companies to conduct mock interviews for us. That's one thing that I would like to share. There is, one more thing. There is a fresher opening in a Coimbatore company, and they are looking for freshers who can quickly learn C# core, C#.NET Core as a backend, Vue.js, HTML, CSS as the front end. They are ready to offer somewhat between 2.5 to 3 lakhs per annum, and location is going to be initially remote, but down the line they need to go and work at Coimbatore. If anybody interested, please put it on the feedback form and reach out to Sauvik directly. Yeah, any other questions off topic also, please? Anything that
Satish, this is for freshers, right? Whatever you are discussing about freshers.
Yes, it is for fresher.
Satish,
so mechanical also okay? Or?
No, they do not see the branch. As long as you can code, I think good in problem solving, I think they should be good.
Okay.
Satish,
if you're happy, should we share that message with everyone else here?
Of course. I sent a message to you, so you can share.
Yeah, I know that. That's what I'm trying to put it out.
Put it in our LinkedIn. Put it in your LinkedIn. We will keep sharing. I will keep sharing.
Yeah, and I put it on the chat for everyone else.
Okay. Yeah.
And I will probably, I think we were discussing something offline. We'll discuss it and probably try and formalize it a bit better.
Yeah.
We'll figure that part out. But I've shared it for the basics, the basic information which Satish shared. I've just put it in the chat for everyone else to see. It's for freshers and in Coimbatore, as Satish mentioned. So
Okay. From next week onwards, as we are getting into frameworks, please go ahead and put the frameworks that you are interested to learn in our feedback form. That really helps, so that I can decide which one comes first, which one goes later. The interview specific, if you think any specific framework questions, I will put them, prioritize them.
I think a common thing with Satish, we all know, is that a lot of people have expressed interest in Spring Boot, and specifically like from the basics of Spring Boot towards the advanced. So I think that would probably win hands down if we conduct a poll.
Okay. So then we have around 10 minutes. If audience do not have anything, right, maybe I will start an introduction of that. I just want to understand from the audience, how many of you interested to learn about Spring Boot microservices? Please put it in the chat.
I'm interested.
Okay.
I am
Actually, Satish, sorry to interrupt. Suresh here. So I have one question. Actually, recently I have attended one interview. So they asked me about microservices in depth. Actually,
very good.
They asked like in microservices there will be a different servers, all small servers. How will you make an object as a singleton for all the servers? Which design pattern you will use for that? They asked this question.
Okay.
So
who's this? Who is this?
Suresh, yes. Suresh.
Yes. Thanks for the question. I just asked the question just for this. If you guys go and check the chat is flooded with messages saying that interested, yes, interested, yes, interested, yes. So that is the hype that Spring Boot microservices has. There's a lot of demand in this area, but trust me, it is going to be much easier. There is literally nothing called Spring Boot microservice. Spring Boot
it is just practice, actually, best practice.
It is just, Spring Boot is still Spring Boot. What is so pathetic is, some people say, do you have experience on Spring Boot microservice? That question itself is wrong, but don't worry. From the interview perspective, we will not consider wrong or right. We need job, so we will go in their route itself.
Satish, sorry to interrupt. One guy is asking that question. Could you please repeat again that question? He is asking, somebody was asking some interview question. Could you please repeat that question?
That's what I was about to mention now. So his question is, when you have microservice, what kind of design patterns that you use, because it is going to be hosted in different servers.
Okay. Yes. Okay. First of all, if you are using microservice in our Spring Boot, all are embedded servers. Like that is how nowadays is going. If you want, you can implement your own server also. All are Tomcat servers. Okay. Whenever you are creating any Spring, by default it's a singleton. By default, its objects are a singleton. Your question is, one object, why we need to share in three different server? What is the need? First of all, we need to identify that.
Actually, assume that there is a e-commerce application.
Okay.
And you have a order, one server, one microsystem.
Okay.
Order management, and you have a payment, one more.
Okay.
So one object should go through all the servers.
Okay. See, if you are using a different database, maybe if you go with that one, order database may have some transaction ID or something. Okay. The same transaction.
That is okay. Your question is why. First of all, why you are making that call? Leave about that why. But my question is how and when it is used. Actually, that was my question. Actually.
Yeah. For that, your question, what I'm trying to tell you is, we have different microservices, right? First,
Yes,
my
yes.
microservices.
It's like
We
a
have
JVM level. Let us consider one server is for one JVM. Okay.
Okay.
So there are multiple servers, means multiple JVMs will be there.
Yes, correct.
So basically, his question was, how will you make a one object as a singleton in multiple JVMs? How will you share the memory actually?
Okay.
That was the depth question actually he asked. But
Okay.
and he asked which design pattern. There is a design pattern for that also, which I don't know that time. But now also I just wanted to ask what is that design pattern in depth actually. If anybody knows, yeah, that
Okay.
could be helpful for us.
Okay. Shall I answer this question now itself? Maybe I will give you a very short answer. I will give the
Yes.
detailed answer as we cover the topics. Okay. Let me put it plain. I don't know who asked you this question of design pattern and all those stuff. Even if it is asked, that's a wrong way of asking questions. It's not that complex or something like that. That is there. It is there for long time. We do not put our servers directly into your say, for example, if you are typing www.espncricinfo.com, in that case, cricinfo.com is implemented by Spring Boot JVM, and that opens up, say, for example, localhost 8080. It definitely won't be that localhost 8080, which means it won't export the Tomcat directly. Tomcat or your actual server, say, for example, Tomcat, WebLogic, JBoss, it will never ever be exposed. Your actual app server, these are called app servers. Usually you expose them through something called proxies, and you can call them as API gateway also. I think that is what he meant by his question.
Yeah, API gateway was there, but he was asking like, how will you make sure one object will be written each time from all the servers?
One object?
Like a singleton. Like always you will call multiple times, you will call the whatever the call, but it should return the same object from all the JVMs or all the servers.
So, okay, 1 second. Sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry, what was the name again? I apologize for asking again.
Suresh.
Suresh, I have a question here. When you're talking about one object, instead of, next time when you get into a question like that, try to, ask the question, what do you mean by one object? Let's say, for example, my understanding of your question is, let's say I am talking about a stock of a particular item. Okay. And say I have more than one instance of a inventory microservice which keeps stock of all, how many pencils are there, how many pens are there, how many rubbers are there. Okay. Now what the actual scenario might be, there's an e-commerce site, there are multiple instances of the inventory microservice. Whenever I call the inventory microservice any instance, it should give every instance should return me the same amount of pencils available irrespective of which instance of the microservice I call. That can be a problem, one. Or say there is that information is maintained in a cache because of whatever reason, and then so there are multiple possibilities. So
I think I think the question was either asked differently. Maybe the intention of the interviewer. Okay, guys, this is a very good thing that Suresh pointed out. Sometimes let us consider even the interviewer is not someone who knows the technology. Sometimes without knowing the technology also they might ask the questions. Okay, in that case you need to go through their route and then they need to answer. Let us put an relatively closest answer that you can get. Of course, this question itself is not relevant, but let us try to get the closest answer. One is we will use API proxies. Okay. If we think about patterns, what is the pattern of a proxy? That's called proxy pattern. There is a pattern called proxy pattern.
Okay.
That's one. Okay. Coming to your second question. The second question is, how do you return a single object every time someone requests? That's second question. That is achieved through something called distributed cache.
Okay.
So for a typical case, if you consider why application can scale from 1 to 100, it is not a magic. Again, it will fall back to the topic that we covered earlier, the topic that Vaibhav covered, parallelization and concurrency. That's a topic that instead of not confusing, rather confuse you now, I'll keep the answer very simple. In a typical sense, we will make as much as parallel as possible. If you want to make the services parallel, services should not share anything common between them as much as possible. Okay? But is it practically possible? No. Two cases where it is not practically possible. Case number 1. If you are using session, HTTP sessions. HTTP sessions are specific to your servers. Ideally, you are not supposed to use sessions now. If you are using session, you are doing an overkill. Session is an outdated topic. But if you are working in a legacy systems, which are developed some 10 years before, you have no excuse, you have no escape. You need to stick with sessions, and this is called sticky sessions. So sessions are something that is sticky. When we say sticky, 2 Tomcat servers you have, as long as they can share the session, then only they can scale. So if you scale, then it's always consider if it is sticky. If you want to say, for example, increase, drag it, the elastic nature will be difficult. Correct. That is what sticky sessions will do you. So in that case, what you need to do is you need to share this session across multiple Tomcat servers. How you do that is one simple possibility. Do not store sessions in Tomcat. Store them in a distributed, separated server. For example, Redis cache, Hazelcast, or something like that. And this Hazelcast is being shared by all the Tomcat. So if one Tomcat creates a session, that is available to another Tomcat also.
Okay.
That's one way. But if you see whether it is possible, yes, it is possible. Is it feasible? Yes, it is feasible, but it is complex. Do not make services interdependent. There is another case. The case number 1 is the sessions. But this session you can escape if your application is new. But the second case that you cannot escape is your caching. Caching is mandatory for performance, and caching is distributed. So you cannot escape. In that case, you use distributed caching. Now, again, if the interviewer go ahead and then say, no, I don't understand it, please elaborate. Tell me the design pattern, then only I will consider your answer is correct. Then go ahead and tell this specific design pattern. A pattern is called mediator.
Okay.
The purpose of mediator is single point of contact. It will not operate on behalf of you, but it will keep observing you. One simple mediator that you can think in your personal life is your messaging server, chatting systems, where you have your chat server. You send a message to me. Yes, it comes to me. Even though it is like you send it to me and then it comes to me, but there is in between someone who sees that, okay, Suresh is messaging and this message has to be given to Sadish. Okay, I will give it to Sadish. And it is up to that mediator to store it in temporary place, do a security check, do whatever processing that he wants to do. That he can do.
Okay.
So that's a mediator pattern that you can mention.
Yeah, sure.
And observer, yes. That
I will dig into that actually.
Yeah.
So thanks a lot actually. I got some info.
Okay. Yeah. So don't be afraid of sometimes questioning your interviewer. If the interviewer asks a question that you think it is not correct, go ahead, try to correct him. If you can't correct him, adapt to him.
Yeah, just he asked, how will you make one object as a singleton across all the servers? I was like, how to make it internally? I was thinking like, is there any JVM provider libraries like IPC libraries?
Don't think technical. If the question is logical, give a logical answer. If you go to technical side, you'll be weaker.
Yeah. Okay.
Because there is another meaning also. Why we should not go technical side. Technical side means something that he knows, you may not know.
Yeah, yes.
If you go logical, something that you say, it's a common language. So it's always better to go logical.
Yeah, okay. It's a logical question only, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so we are done for the day.
Thanks, Suresh and Satish. Good conversation. Even this is the first time I'm hearing this question. Actually, yeah, it's bit of tricky.